Hi everybody, hope you're well. Please excuse the rather hot demeanour. It is a billion degrees here in the Caravan, so please excuse me if I look a little bit flustered. Now, recently we borrowed an awning from Dometic. In fact, it's the same awning from the same range that I premiered on our channel last year, that being the Dometic Rally Air Tour. Now, we visited the Brecon Beacons back in the spring and we set up the awning in some changeable weather conditions, to say the least. And this video, I'm going to share with you my thoughts, my opinions, the conclusions of this particular awning. Now, for transparency, I'm not sponsored, I'm not endorsed, I'm not paid by Dometic in any way, shape or form. My words are my own. They have absolutely no editorial input on this video whatsoever, although I have shared it with them before it goes live to you guys. So, with that out of the way, let's introduce this new awning from Dometic. Okay, so this version of the Rally Air Tour S is the 390, and that means the total width in the awning rail is 3.9 meters. It has a depth of 2.5 meters, the height in its standard format is 2.65 meters, but this can be altered down to a height of 2.35. The awning itself weighs 27 kilograms, it costs £1,250 as of summer 2025, so what do you get for that price? Well, you get the awning with the front and the side panels, a set of removable curtains, a draft skirt, a 2.2 litre hand pump, some pegs, a manual and an oversized carrier bag. In fact, you have absolutely everything you need to get this awning up and running, except for a mallet for the pegs. Now, this isn't a setup video in any stretch of the imagination, and this particular awning that we borrowed from Dometic was brand new, and that meant there was a lot of packaging. There was a lot of tissue paper and plastic. Sadly, I never took a photo of the total packaging at the end, but there was a lot. It was a big bag of paper and all sorts of bits and bobs, and sorting through the awning, getting it away from the packaging, does slow you down quite a bit. So it wasn't our usual speeds of getting this awning up. Now, whilst I'm talking about getting the awning up, that is of course the first task, to get it into the awning rail. And I must admit, we really struggled. I can't say that it was the fault of the awning, but this was very, very stiff. I don't think the dual beading helped, which I'll discuss a bit later on. And I also can't say that it was a dirty awning rail, because we've had our canopy in and out of this rail all year beforehand. But once it was finally in, it was time to inflate. And that was a breeze with a single inflation point. Now, I partially inflated the awning so we could zip in the panels. I did that before it was fully taut, and that really did help. And it's important to point out that the manual does give some useful tips on which zips to use. You see, for about 10 minutes, we couldn't figure out which zip we should be using. And it really does help when you read the instructions. So once all the panels were zipped in, the awning was then inflated up to 9 psi and pegged out. Now, there is nothing revolutionary about pegging this awning out. It's all pretty standard and very familiar. And once done, it did create a nice, taut, clean looking awning once we were finished. So now it's up and ready to use. What did we really think of it? Well, to be honest, we really liked the overall feel of the awning. As you can see, it's spacious, light and inviting. The skylights do make a great addition to the awning, and the light coloured panels really do brighten up the awning. With just a few accessories such as storage and a table, the awning provided us a great space to relax, eat and socialise in. Now, for all you awning nerds out there, let's just discuss this fabric. The awning is constructed from a rip-stop polyester fabric that's been dope dyed. Away from the marketing spiel, this means that the fabric is resilient to rips, accidental damage, and also has some resistance from UV damage as well. So it all sounds rosy, right? Well, not quite. There's a few things I'm unsure about and a few things I just don't like. Now, you may think this is a bit picky, but to start with, I would love to see some of the accessories included in the price of the awning. What am I referring to? Well, the optional storm straps and the rear poles. These, I feel, are essential to get the awning up, especially if you're using the awning in any other season other than summer. I feel that the panels that face the Caravan are really messy. The straps that tie onto the optional poles look really untidy. I did try to tidy these up as much as I could, but alas, it just never looked the part. a fabric panel or maybe a rethink on the entire construction and how this all works may be in order, because I think that would make a massive difference. The other thing I didn't particularly like was the label with all the fire regulations literally on the side of that panel, and it was a bit flappy and very, very messy. Another point on these rear poles and the panels is that the poles themselves seem to kick out when in use, especially if you're using the side door access. The design of these accessories could be improved to allow them to be pegged into the floor. Maybe I'm missing a point here, but they just didn't seem to work for us. Every time we used the door, every time we accessed the awning or pulled the panel, the pole would kick out, and it just didn't seem to provide a good sturdy support to the back of the Caravan. Now finally, I mentioned pulling this awning through was a struggle, and this may have been down to the dual beading, but I can't say for sure. Now, I've had an awning before with this dual KDAR system, and we didn't like that awning because that was incredibly difficult too. The dual beading does make pulling through the rail harder. You see, it makes the whole beading stiffer and less compliant. And also, you need to make sure you're pulling the correct one through. I've made that mistake before. And yes, I did check that we were using the smaller one. The dual beading is there for a very practical reason. The awning is suitable for a caravan and also a motorhome, both of which have different size awning rails. Dometic have included both sizes of the dual beading, and this makes it really, really stiff. So you may be thinking, well, okay, there's quite a lot of doom and gloom here. Surely there's something I like about the awning. Well, indeed there is. There is a lot to like about this awning. I sat with Angela over one evening and we wrote down all the pros and cons, the things we liked, the things we didn't like. And we both commented and we both mentioned how light it was. It lets in a lot of light, but it keeps the temperature well regulated. Now, when we used it in the spring, the temperature was quite warm during the day and quite cool at night. And that temperature difference wasn't very noticeable in the awning itself. When we used this awning, it was Easter, so lots of potential for condensation from the damp weather. But no, the awning did stay dry for the 5 days in mixed Welsh weather. Despite the struggle of pulling through the awning, we did find that setting up was actually really straightforward. There was no dramas at all. Pegging points were easy and the awning did get taut with no bother at all. And ultimately, it did fit the side of the Caravan. I've had a few awnings now with removable curtains and I can say that these were probably the easiest to fit and use. So I just want to touch on some of the accessories that we also used when we borrowed this awning. Firstly, the carpet. Now we use a tarp on the floor to minimise the amount of mud transferred between the floor and the carpet, or in setting up between the floor and the awning sides. And then on top of the tarp, once it's all set up, we then use the carpet as well. But in between the carpet and the tarp, we sometimes use the floor mats, and that's exactly what we did back in the spring. And that provides two things. First of all, it insulates the carpet from the floor, it makes it nice and warm, but also it stops any mud transfer getting between the floor and the carpet. And let's face it, carpets are expensive, so you want to preserve that as much as you can. Now I will say that setup is absolutely perfect for hard standing pitches, but if you're on a grass pitch, don't bother doing it because you'll kill the grass. And in any case, it's nice to feel the grass under your feet anyway. Now another accessory I want to talk about is the Sabre lights. Long-term subscribers will know that I've made my own awning lights in the past, and it was really interesting to see how these work in the awning. And I will say the length and the way they integrate into the awning was absolutely perfect. It makes for a really neat installation. The lights have remote control where you can obviously switch them on and switch them off, but you can also dim the amount of light they emit as well. I must admit, they did fit the awning really, really well. I would probably buy a set if I hadn't already made my own, but comparing them to mine and these, very difficult to say which one's in it, but I used them anyway and I was quite impressed with them. Now we haven't used an awning for about 3 years. Instead, we opt for a canopy, and that suits us absolutely fine. However, the first evening of us using this awning, we quickly remembered what we really missed. It was a space to sprawl in relative warmth, a place to eat without tripping over each other, and it was an extra room to chill out during the day and the evening. All in all, it was a welcome return to outdoor living. Now, if you're interested in this awning in particular, I've placed a link to the official listing on the awning down in the description below. My advice though, if you're interested in this, is pop along to a local retailer who has these on display. Pop along, have a look, feel the fabric, make sure you're happy with it, have a walk around it, and make sure that it's the one for you. Because let's face it, it's quite an investment. So the $64 billion question is, would I buy it? Well, Well, as many of you will know, I'm not particularly a fan of air awnings. However, my opinion is now being swayed, and I also own an air awning. But as time shifts on, the designs are getting better. It's not hard to like these new breeds of air awnings, and for the price, the awning offers an extra room in the Caravan that is well built and well designed. I was unsure about the bright fabric, I'll be honest with you, because I thought that after some time you'll be needing to clean it, and sure enough, the roof panel did start to muck up with debris falling off of the trees. And that is the only issue. That's the only issue for me on this awning, is that keeping it clean because of its bright fabric. But if you are careful with it and you look after it and you do clean it every time you put it away, there is no reason why this awning wouldn't last you for years and years. So that's it from me today. A huge thank you to Dometic for allowing me to borrow this awning and also allowing me to say what I think about this particular awning. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them down below. And if anything else I can help you with, feel free to ask. But that's it from me today. Many thanks for watching, everybody. Please do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification icon, and if you can do all that, I'll see you in the next upload. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.